Podcast, your favorite Pokemon podcaster's favorite Pokemon podcast. My name is Kyle Koopa Rios, and I am joined, as I am every week, by my co-host and friend, the Pony Bottle Champ, Mr. George Fabre. George, how you doing, my friend?
What is good, brother? Oh, man. What a day. What a day. How was your day? Let's start with your day, because I might go off for a tangent here.
I've also had a long couple days. It's only folks. It's only Tuesday, and I feel like this week has been about 6 years. I am having a rough start to my week. Work has been a little crazy, and my car got hit at work the other day, so that was
No.
annoying. Yeah, I my car door got scratched by a tow truck driver that thought he could fit down an alleyway, and he, instead of asking me to, hey, if I could move my car, thought, let me try to squeeze in here, and then he hit both the fence and on the other side and my car. So having a great start to my week after I just got my car fixed. So can't quite seem to win. It's been a tough week.
Well, my day was not that bad. Can't top that one.
Yeah, go on. What's going on? What's going on in your world?
Sorry to hear that. No, man, it's just work is just tough lately. It's just a lot. So, I mean, yeah, I compared to what you got going on, it's not much.
Yeah, work sucks. I think that's what the gist of that conversation was boiling down to. Working stinks, and jobs are unnecessary, and money should grow on trees like it does in Animal Crossing, and I'm kind of mad that it doesn't.
One day, I believe it will.
We'll get there. We'll figure it out. But yeah, we got a fun-filled episode for you guys, regardless of what's happening in our crappy lives this week. We have another edition of our local roundup, as we usually do. We have results from the Lille Regional Championships to talk about. We got some fun new decks that are coming out in Japan with some interesting looking cards, to say the least. And we're going to do our Squawk and See segment, as we do every week, where we ask each other this or that questions, and we'll see, hey, if we have taste or not. Most of the time we don't. We're uncultured people here. But yeah, George, we had our another excursion this weekend. Obviously we had our Friday local at Highlander Games. We had a challenge that we both participated in, and then we participated in a cup on Sunday. So how did your weekend around the Garden State go this weekend?
Friday night was good. Finished fourth. Only had one loss because Pokestop hates me. But then Sunday I did brutally bad. That one store down in Cinnamon Town, whatever it's called. Good store. Cryptic. Was it Cryptic Collections? Yeah, cool store. But for whatever reason, I can't win at that store. I've been there twice, and I've yet to win a game there. So I don't think I should go there anymore. I don't know.
Now we got to break the curse on. We got to bring some sage to burn or something for next time. We'll figure it out, man. But hey, you know what? We're all gonna have those days. So everybody has those shops that they just don't perform well in, I guess. It's like, I don't know. I'm sure Kobe had a few stadiums where he wasn't automatic from either. So, everybody's got their shops. We'll go there with some crystals and some summoning circles or something to kind of get your mojo right next time.
We'll see. How about you, man? I know you were kind of bummed on Sunday.
Yeah, I was bummed a bit, but yeah, I participated in both events this weekend as well. I've kind of been at this weird crossroads with the format. I've been a dedicated Lugia bot for the last month and almost 2 months, basically, since I found, since Baltimore, I've really just been playing the same deck, and I kind of been a little burnt out just of playing the same deck over and over again. So I really just wanted to play something a little bit different, and I've been playing a lot of Cloth, both on the ladder and in person. So that deck is funny again. I like that. I like the concept of that deck. It's a bit of a pile sometimes, but hey, so is every deck of cards, I guess. But I got top 8 at the challenge on Friday. I hit some. I had some bad matchup variants. I hit 2 Lugias, and that matchup isn't necessarily very strong for me. I kept it as close as I could, but anything that Cloth can't one shot is kind of annoying, and Lugia resists fighting, so my options are very limited in that regard. But I did okay. The deck did its thing. On Sunday, I lost my last round in Swiss to Whiff Cut. And I was pretty bummed about that. I feel like I had 2 very winnable games that I kind of threw away due to me just not choosing the right path to go down. I locked in the Pidgeot control round 2, and he starts lone Luxray V pass, and I didn't. I had a very awkward starting hand to try to get the donk to beat him, and I came up just a little bit short. I think in retrospect, maybe I could have sequenced it a little bit better, but I would have needed a lot to happen and just kind of didn't fall my way. And even then, the game was close. I forced him to have to take all 6 prize cards, and I just kind of ran out of gas at the end of the game. Hence what control does. It, chokes you away of all your resources, and that's exactly what happened. And then I got paired into the one matchup I didn't want to see all day, which was Dragapult into the last round, and that was tough. I was faced with an awkward decision of, do I knock out a Duskull or do I knock out the support Pokemon on the bench? And I chose wrong, and I lost the game in 2 turns because of it. So that just felt kind of bad. I was more so just mad that I didn't go with my gut and I misplayed. And granted, I probably still could have lost the game anyway, but I feel like I would have given myself a better chance if I went the other route that I went. But you live and you learn. The format's changing over in a week anyway, so Cloth might not be as good as an option going into the next format. Who knows? But just this is why we play the game. We play the game. My biggest goal this season, on top of anything, is just to learn. Is to just give myself better foundational pieces this season, and I feel like that's just a moment I have to use as a learning opportunity, and we'll just try to do better next time. That's all we can really do.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of in the same boat too, man. I really would just love to win a cup finally. Getting a top 4 in the challenge is cool and all, but really just looking for that cup win. So, same, man. Just want to learn and keep getting better.
Yeah, shout out to Harrell, who won another cup this weekend. So that guy is a jerk.
God,
and
I'm just
really
getting
good.
sick of it. Yeah, I'm getting sick of this guy just winning all the time. And I got paired with him round 1 too. Like, come on. No, but he's crazy because he's winning with everything. It's like whatever he touches, he just does well with. It's crazy. So
yeah, and we talked a little bit about that on the car ride back. Our third idiot of the trio, Harrell, has been doing very well, trying to lock in a Worlds invite in a very competitive region. So, kudos to him, and we're stoked for him. And yeah, we talked a bit about it on the way back. I think a lot of how you can just pilot these decks better, just learning to sequence certain things better. Make sure you give yourself the maximum opportunity to hit whatever it is you might need. And that's all just stuff that comes with time and learning, and we'll get there. We'll get there, man. We'll figure it out. It's a long season. There's still a lot of time.
Yeah,
a
lot of time
to figure this stuff out. So
yeah,
so
100%, man.
And also, it stinks that you guys got paired into each other because there's only 12 people at this cup. So, unfortunately, we
what are the chances?
Brought 1/3 of the competition. It stinks. It's tough stuff. So,
yeah. What are you gonna do?
Question is, where are we gonna go this weekend?
This weekend I'm out. I'm gonna do the challenge, or no, it's not a challenge. It's just regular league, and then what? We're gonna do GLC at Highlander, and then pre-release.
Yeah, I guess that's what the plan is. I'm not sure. I don't know if GLC is going to be like an actual. I think it just might be like a for frenzy thing we do to pass the time.
No, I think he's going to do prizing.
Okay, that works for me. Yeah, we're in pre-release season. At the time that this recording will come out, pre-releases for Surging Sparks will be a thing, And certain places, depending on where you lived, on what your local league provides, some places do midnight pre-releases. We do them here in New Jersey, in our neck of the woods, and in order to kill the time between league finishing and the pre-release, we're doing a GLC tournament, which is going to be fun. So looking forward to that this coming Friday. Usually we combo it into a challenge, but I think Rob even said he messed that up and accidentally scheduled it the week prior.
Because the challenge was this past week. So yeah, but
yeah,
I'm pretty sure I'm gonna win because I don't think anybody could beat me with water. I think I'm goated with water. GLC.
I think you're incredibly lucky, and your luck will run out one of these days.
I don't know, man. Shady dealings. Good card. Good cards.
I just think you're a loser, truthfully. If I'm being totally honest. Why do they give shady dealings to two different Pokemon?
I don't know.
So stupid.
So me and Kyle played GLC recently. And he was playing Dark Gym and I was playing Water Gym and he was just got cooked.
You should honestly be ashamed of yourself. Not only did we play GLC, we gentlemen to GLC instead of playing Standard, which is very funny.
Yeah, because we're tired of Standard. Yeah, I mean, like it was like what, round 4, and we're just like, I don't want to do this right now.
Yeah, our game meant absolutely nothing. So it was just for the laughs. Just hopefully, shout out to my boy Chris Gonzalez. He's gonna cook me up a grass deck to play this weekend. So I'm excited to try some alternate formats. GLC is something I've always liked from a distance, but I don't own most of the cards you need to actually play and construct decks. So I like it when other people give me decks to borrow. That's fun.
Yeah, I think he has 7 built already. So I'm pretty sure he's going to be funding the whole tournament.
It's like when you used to play Pokemon Stadium and you just used to rent teams to
yeah, exactly.
take on the gym leader castle. So we're just renting. We're just doing rental teams from the Battle Frontier with Chris. So looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. The midnight release is also a lot of fun too. It's just nice to kind of get the physical cards in your hand. And I think we'll do a full Surging Sparks episode next week to just kind of preview the cards and what we're excited about.
Well, we could just kind of preview it here. You saw the 4 promos, right?
We did see the promos, yes. I believe
Which one?
Promos are
Magneton,
Chen-Pao, Indeedee, and Gouging Fire.
Yeah. Which one are you looking to pull?
In terms of what's the most playable, the Magneton definitely seems the most playable. So I would like to get that one.
Chen-Pao.
I mean, if there's ever if there's ever an ability lock stadium, I feel like that card will have a little bit more purpose. It just because cards like that usually serve good purpose, like what Pumpkaboo used to do. And I think I think people forget that we're going to lose stuff like Lost Vacuum and Lugia as a way to remove stadiums in the near future. So I think stadium control is going to be important moving forward since Area Zero is very good.
Pidgeotty X.
Sure.
Charmander, Blazing Destruction.
All right, you're totally right. You got me there, pal. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. In terms of actual cards I want to get, this might be one of the few. I haven't bought I don't buy booster boxes for every set, but I definitely might pick one up for this one because there's a lot of playable stuff that's going to be good, both for other archetypes, but also just in general to have cards like Counter Gain. Our cards you're gonna want to pull. So this might be the set where I rip a couple of booster boxes.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna buy a box too. But yeah, like I said, we'll kind of after the pre-release, we'll kind of go through some of the cards and talk about that a little bit more. But I think what we really need to get into, because there was a regional last weekend in Lille, France. How do you pronounce it? Lille or Lille?
I believe it's pronounced Lille.
I saw online that it was Lille. Leeel. Lille. That's what I saw online.
Okay, we can go with that. I'm not French, so.
My last name is French. Fabre. But yeah, Reggie Drago taking it home. And interesting enough, 3 Reggie Dragos in top 8. And we also saw
5 in top
Dragapult,
16.
5 in top 16. Wow. We saw Dragapult come in second. Snorlax, Stall coming in third. Couple Lugias down the bottom there, and then a Raging Bolt, of course. Kyle, what did
Yeah.
you see reaction wise? Is Reggie Drago so back, or is it so back?
It's hard to argue that it's not back right now. I watched a decent amount of Lille as I could. The tough part with these European regionals is that depending on where it is in Europe, the starting time is very awkward. And these started very, very early in the morning. So it was a little difficult to watch live. There's a lot of interesting stuff to see here. Obviously, James Cox from Australia coming out on top. James has been a phenomenal player in Masters for a while now. Top 4 finish at Worlds in 2022. Got top 8 at Dortmund last season, top 16 at the Utrecht special event last year. As always, a top 32 finish at NAIC this year. So, a very, very accomplished player, but was kind of just missing out on like the big one. And he came out on top here. And the Australians as a whole all did very, very well, locking in with Reggie Drago. Kaiwan Kababe, coming in 5th place. Kaiwan got top 4 at NAIC this past year, top 32 at Worlds. The Perth regional champion last season as well. Coming in with Reggie Drago. And also looking here, there is another list I saw here that did very well. I think 3 of these guys all played the same list. I think the other one was Brent Tonneson, but Brent got top 32, so he unfortunately kind of stumbled a little bit there. But yeah, the biggest thing to gather from here is that Reggie Drago kind of like a weird like middle of the pack deck, since the format's changed over. Gets the big one here, and what was a very, very fun back and forth in finals between more or less 2 Dragapult decks.
Yeah, not too many weird inclusions either. All pretty straightforward, right? I think they all played the same list. If I'm seeing that,
they all
correctly.
played the same list. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is also the same list that John Ang played to top 16 at Dortmund. I'm still not sure if I love the 1-1 line of Noctowl, but it's proven to be effective. So, I think it's hard not to include a card
they
like
didn't
that.
all play it because no, Kaiwan Kababe did not play the Noctowl. Oh no, he did.
No, he did.
I just saw a list.
He did.
No, the person in front of him. Sorry, Alberto Conti did not.
Yes, Alberto did. Played a couple of cards different than everyone else. Also finishing in 4th place, top 4 finish.
You know what's interesting in this is the 1 penny.
Yes, which I think I don't hate in a deck like this. Because you don't play any other switching outs. I mean, some of the lists were playing a hard switch card as your main pivot option alongside the prime catcher. And you do have a couple of awkward starters in his deck, being the Kyurem and the Radiant Charizard. So if those guys get benched early, they're just never coming off the table. So I think including the 1 of Penny, which has been kind of a fringe card in Reggie Drago, it makes a lot of sense. But no, I think the list looks pretty solid. Like you said, it's a very straightforward, by the books, no fluff list. Some lists were including the Noivern, which was a hot tech inclusion leading into the weekend, because if you're able to establish, if you're able to go first and then get the V-Star the next turn, and attack into Terapagos can't do anything against that second attack of Noivern.
Yeah, that was one of the games on stream, right?
That was one of the games on stream. That guy could not do anything.
Yeah,
that was
crazy.
That was real.
I think I texted you during that, or it was in the group chat or something. I was like, "Wow, that's pretty good against Terapagos, huh?"
Pretty good. No, can't deny that. It's very good. But yeah, this is very by the bones. Again, it's hard to argue against the 1-1 of knocked out since you're already playing the Terra Ogre So I think Reggie Drago just continues to be good. The deck can be kind of like a sequencing nightmare sometimes because you can kind of find yourself out of resources in some instances. But the deck proved to come out on top here. That finals against Clement was very, very fun to watch as well. There is one really, really good exchange at the end of game one where James was up huge. He was up. He had to take 2 prize cards to win, and Clement just chose not to take a knockout. He spread enough damage around to where he would have been able to take all 6 prize cards on his next turn, and then James just immediately recognized that and scooped the game. So James did drop the first game of that set. So very, very fun deck, and opting to not play the Dustnors also. So Pidgeot Dragapult was the hot hand this weekend.
Yeah, and it's kind of a lot like a Charizard list, 4 Buddy Buddy Puffin, 4 Rare Candy. You got a Churro in there, 2 Boss's Order, 3 Iono, 4 Arvin, heavy supporter count, and then obviously Rare Candy and Buddy Buddy Puffins are essential. 3 Nest Balls, 3 counter catchers though. So going back to your point, I think his strategy really was just like, let's spread around a bunch of damage, and if you knock out my Dragapults, I'm just gonna keep building ones up, and eventually I'm gonna board wipe you. So, 3 counter catchers. It's a lot of gust. 3 counter catchers, 2 boss.
Yep, and that worked out very, cleverly for Clement in the game that he won. He was able to counter catcher up the Pheasantipity, just hit it for 200 to take away the card draw after Ionoing James to 2, and then he set up the math perfectly to have won the game inevitably on his next turn. So, I think these Arvin engine decks all sort of look the same. You're going to see combinations of Rotom and a heavy count of searching cards to kind of help you get off the ground. That is kind of the problem with a deck like this, is that you have to get established, and if you don't have a hot start game one, you're gonna run into some problems where, or if you don't have a hot turn one, your subsequent turns can be kind of weak. But the deck still has enough firepower to get things off the ground. The one of Pokemon League headquarters I thought was interesting also.
Yeah, I was literally just about to say that. Couple that with the one TM Devolution, right? You're just, hey, let's just keep spreading damage around, and we're gonna board wipe you eventually. Pokemon League headquarters, big basics. I mean, that's a nightmare for Raging Moon, Raging Bolt, Roaring Moon, and I guess Miraidon's not really prevalent right now, but yeah, those decks. So a lot of text in here. I like the list. I think it's cool. You know what this list is just reminding me of, though? You spoke about it earlier. Counter Gain getting reprinted. This feels like a deck that's going to capitalize on Counter Gain pretty well.
Yeah, it's definitely a card I'm sure would kind of seamlessly fit into a deck like this. Those stage 2 decks that are naturally going to might be behind a turn can benefit from this. I don't necessarily know. It's going to be tough. I don't know if Dragapult's like the right sort of deck for that, because you can just mitigate that attack cost with the sparkling crystal anyway, and that kind of helps solve that problem.
But if you're playing less counter catchers and you throw in a prime catcher and then add a counter gain or 2, that can replace that. And I can see this being played with Dusknoir again, with the counter gain, being able to pop a Dusknoir, spread some damage around, maybe even just a Dusclops, and using counter gain and really spreading the damage around. I don't know, something to look at, because we were cooking up some stuff on the way home. And by the way, I did build out the Alolan Executor and played a few solitaire hands with it, and it's really bad.
Yeah, I could. I mean, sorry to break it to you, but I could have told you that. You guys will not understand the shock and horror I experienced when I was exhausted, so I was taking a nap on the ride back to from the Cup on Sunday, and George and his just like George is just like you're like a real life version of Cosmo Kramer, with just like the nonsense that comes out of your mouth sometimes. You're just like George is like you're like, oh, I want to start cooking for Toronto. That's because that's the next regional we're all going. You guys are all going to. So you're just like, we're gonna start cooking. It's like I want to sit down and I want to play something that my opponent's not gonna know what to do against. I'm just like, okay, so you want to play a rogue deck? And you're like, no, I want to play something that's like, that's meta. But I'm just like, you can't play meta and rogue at the same time. And you're just like, well, I'm gonna do it. Like the very George answer. You're just in a constant state of jamming the square peg into the round hole, and I applaud you for it because you will exhaust everything until you eventually come to terms with like, yeah, no, this isn't gonna work. But I'm glad I tried it anyway, and I applaud you for that.
Well, I mean, listen, like meta decks come out of nowhere, right? I just like we just got to figure out the next one. That's it. What's wrong with that? You got to try it. I'm still going. But looking at this list, it's got my wheels turning. Counter gain Dragapult could be good. Could be all right. Listen, I'm going to try it. We're going to try it. I just need somebody to reel in my crazy ideas, right? And just make it more consistent because I won't do that. I definitely don't do that.
Yeah, I tried, but yeah, the concoction they cooked up was something with Alolan Executor EX, which
not good.
God bless him, man. But just saying, you know what that card, will fit seamlessly into Reggie Drago. But that's beside the point. Yeah, it's a we'll see. Counter Gain's an interesting card. I think there's another deck that utilizes that card a little bit better than what Dragapult could, but we'll talk about that at a later time. I do want to talk about some of the other decks that placed very well here. The other deck that was prominently featured in top 16 of Cut was Lugia. Lugia continued to be a strong choice here. And I think that just kind of speaks to what Lugia is. It is just it's a very straightforward deck. Most of the lists are going to play around the same, like 50 to 55 cards, or so 60 to 65 cards. That card pool is very refined at this point, but it's effective. So I got to give a shout out to Joshua Vanov. It's Zapdos TCG. I can't pronounce your last name, man, and I apologize. It's very German, but it's Zapdos TCG. Phenomenal content creator on YouTube. I watch a lot of his videos, and his Lugia list is very good. It's very akin to what I was, trying to throw together for when I went to Baltimore. He's very heavy on the rats. A 3-3 line of Minchino Chinchino, really leaning heavy.
Did you see his trainers? Did you see his trainers? Because there's something that sticks out there that I'm going to bust you on that I've been telling you forever. Let me see if you could see it before I yell it out.
The 4 Great Balls?
It's the 4 Great Balls! Come on, man. Been telling you, 4 Great Balls is good. I'm glad. Now you have to play it. This list is exactly what you've been pretty much cooking. I keep telling you, put 4 Great Balls. 2 Jamming Towers, very interesting as well. I guess he's playing that because of the Raging Bolt of it all. I think,
I just think tools are good right now. You like that's a card that's like very like multi-layered. It's like it's good. It helps. It's turning off Bravery Charm is good. Turning decks off from like Forest Healstone is very good. Being able to take away those key resources from decks is just very, very effective. So yeah, I can't say I'm wrong. And listen, go ahead.
Will you play this list, please? I think this list is literally perfect for you. Honestly,
if I can find the rest of my rats, I will, because my cards are kind of a mess right now. So it's good. And I also don't know if I have 2 Jamming Towers or not. I think I might only have 1.
We'll get you Jamming Towers. We got them somewhere.
Figure it out. Thanks, man. Yeah, it's a good list. I like it a lot. I think it's proven to be very effective. Joshua has also, piloted this deck to some very strong success. He got top 32 at Worlds at the same list and a top 128 finish at Dortmund just a couple weeks ago. So Lugia bots, rejoice. The deck is going to be good until they rip it out of your cold, dead hands, folks. And I think, and again, Stall continues to convert well. That's a deck that you have to respect at all capacities. We do see the third place is here from Roan Nielsen, but also Control God himself, Sander Wojcik, with the Toxic Kings finish. Also, to talk about Lugia a bit, Andre Skubal, former world champion, placing in top in asymmetrical cut, top 16 with Lugia. So love to see it.
Yeah.
But I do want to talk about. Go.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did you see Ethan's list though? Ethan Wild, throwing the one of Thornton in there with the one Minchino, two Chinchino. Thought that was pretty interesting as
Yeah,
well.
I thought this was interesting. Ethan is a very accomplished player in EU, former Mewbot, so that's my goat. He's had a couple of top eights and last season as well. So it's interesting stuff. Like I said, I feel like these Lugia lists are all sort of drink from the same pool of cards. The 1-2 split is very interesting because it. But I also don't love it because like if you're missing the Minchino, the rest of the puzzle kind of falls apart, and that's kind of an important card to have. Although I guess you can like maybe that's why you play the Thornton to kind of cover your butt in that respect. It's interesting to say the least. But
Well,
my problem
think
with
about
cards
this.
like that, I feel like I can never find them when I need them.
Well, that's why he plays the double Luminion as well. But think about this scenario: you have Iron Hands, you ampy very much with Legacy on there, right? They boss around it, put up like a big stage 2, and then all of a sudden you Thornton into Minchino, Chinchino, and then evolve into Chinchino, and now you're popping off a special roll. Pretty freaking broken, honestly. That's a cool play right there.
Yeah, like I like the list. I like the inclusions. I feel like you can't go wrong with any list in your Lugia list, and I think the deck's proven that a strong enough player can pilot it. And if you're willing to ignore the shortcomings that come with this deck, sometimes you're gonna be fine. If you're like sometimes your lone Lugia gets knocked out and you lose the game. That's okay. That's why we play best of 3 at regionals because then we just win the next one. So as friend of the show, Anthony Guevara, puts it on me multiple times. Lugia provides, and it will continue to provide.
Lugia provides.
But
Yes, sir.
but I do want to look at Sanders' control list here because these lists are always so funny.
Absolutely bonkers.
He posted his list on Twitter, I believe. He was his list was a no Rotom Snorlax stall list. It's 4 Snorlax, 2 Mimikyu, and a Cornerstone Mask Ogrepon. It was truly an incredible thing to pay witness to. I don't know if you saw the list on Twitter or on Limitless yet.
Yeah, and I actually just
stuff.
watched Azul before we hopped on here. He was playing it on stream. The Troy is so funny, man. The Troy is great, and it kind of just makes sense though because you don't play the Rotom. I'm sure you don't have access to 4 Sealstone, but Troy kind of works like Rotom, and you get to look at their hands. Kind of cool. At like the end of like your first turn, if you go second instead of like using Rotom and really at any point, you draw 3 cards, you end your turn that way after looking at their hand. But I thought the weirdest. I didn't even think that was the weirdest card. I thought the Grusha was pretty strange. Draw 5 cards. Draw cards until you have 5 cards in your hand. If none of your Pokemon have any energy attached, draw cards until you have 7 instead. You're not playing energy, so you're always drawing 7 if you use all your cards. So he picked some cool supporters there to replace Rotom, which I thought was pretty awesome.
Yeah, and for anyone that's curious as to why Sander chose not to play the Rotom, he went into detail about it on Twitter. But the basic thing is that like your opponent's prize mapping becomes a lot harder without the Rotom. They don't have that. You don't have that just sitting liability all the time. Things like Mimikyu and Cornerstone Mask Ogrepon, there's play arounds for those. They have things baked in to make them a little bit harder, more difficult to hit. Rotom doesn't. Rotom just sits there and draws you 3 cards at the end of your turn every time. But so I think choosing not to include it is very interesting. I didn't even notice the Grusha the first time when I looked at the picture. My mind immediately went to the 4 of copies of Box Starter. Which again also kind of functions like a Rotom substitute. You search your deck for 2 item cards, put them in your hand, and then your turn ends. So I thought this list was very interesting. I am not a control guy. That is not my cup of tea. But this looks funny. That's at the bare minimum, it's a funny looking deck, and it proves
I
to be
would say
very
just
effective
looking at
for him.
this list, Sander, you are a genius. You're an evil genius. Apparently, this is an
Yeah,
evil genius type of list right here.
he's a control god. He's played this sort of archetype for as long as I've been around following competitive Pokemon. Sanders always been the guy to crack the control code in every format. So I will be forwarding this to my control friends, and I can't wait for them to figure it all out. For me, so I don't have to. I need more of these. I need my control guys to come back to the locals because so that way I can know what to do when I play against control and I don't poop myself like I did on Sunday. I'm not tight about it. I promise.
Yeah, well, the other Snorlax stall too had an interesting inclusion. The one of the new Diancie, um, which I'm assuming is there for Lugia, considering it does diffuse reflection 40 times each special energy attached to all of your opponent's Pokemon. I'm sure that's there to uh, kind of be a little bit more aggressive against, you know, Lugia and Weird Ears and Blood Moon Ursalunas and have you not.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting card. This I ran into that card when I played against Venomoth Item Lock at the New York Cup a few weeks ago.
Did you
Yikes!
really?
Yeah, that card is dumb. It's
I
silly
didn't even know that.
to say
Yeah,
the least.
it's crazy.
It was a rough weekend that weekend, but the only just kind of looking through the rest of top 16 here, there's one more deck I would like to bring attention to, and that is from Luke Kirkham at 14th place with the Gouging Fire deck. Have you seen this yet?
Yeah, interesting. You know, seeing Moltres used. This is I would say it's kind of like a Miraidon esque deck. Would you agree?
I mean, I feel like it kind of functions in the same way, but there's just less. It's just a little bit more awkward because you don't have like something like electric generator that moves two energies. You have to move your energies one at a time. So I think that's why you play the three energy switch in this deck. But it makes sense as to why it does well. It's the same sort of concept of a deck. You go second, you hopefully power up your big guy, and then you have the means to swing for big damage going first. You play the monkey Dory to help correct some of your math in places where it might be hard to reach. That's also why you play the Moltres. And I don't know if I necessarily love the Moltres though. That's probably like one of the most cuttable card in the deck if you wanted to put something else in there. But I liked it. I like the bones of this deck. It's got good structure, and Delphox is also an effective attacker again too because no decks are playing Manaphy right now. Manaphy's stock is at an all time low, so you can easily get a Magma Basin, Energy Switch, attacks from hand scenario to do Magical Fire to pop two of your opponent's small guys going on your first turn. So there's a lot
Yeah,
of avenues for success for this deck.
I think it's interesting that Manaphy's gone. Obviously, we know why with Dusknoir being in format, but it kind of seemed like for a while that Manaphy would always just be in every single deck until it rotated. And I guess we could never foresee a card like Dusknoir being um, printed, but it is interesting now that the bench attackers are really good right now. Greninja EX, Radiant Greninja, Delphox V coming up now. Um, man, VMAX Urshifu would just be loving life right now with Dusknoir in the format.
Yeah, it's tough, man. Manaphy definitely is like a necessary evil in certain decks still. But your opponents just have so many ways around it that aren't just canceling Cologne. Now you can just pop it with a Dusknoir and not be any the wiser. Any other lasting thoughts you have here on Lille? Any other decks you wanna touch on here?
I mean, we touched them all. There was only one Charizard that finished 19th, a little bit outside. Very similar to like Sebastian's list from what I see. But other than that, no, like all pretty straightforward decks, and you know, not like too much craziness outside of the few that we mentioned.
Yeah, it seems very chalked, and Reggie Drago continues to be a good play. I think that deck again is kind of maybe gone back to being an underrated deck choice again. So definitely excited to see how this pops back up in the format, and then we have another ebb and flow as we introduce more cards into the card pool in the next couple weeks. So, but speaking of cards, introducing the card pool, we got new EX battle decks revealed in Japan this past week. Each these are sort of just like the battle league decks that we get here in the States once a quarter. They have announced 9 of them. The theming being different generations of Pokemon. So each deck contains, 2 Pokemon from a specific generation, and then you have a playable list of cards within them. Now, I'd say about 99% of these cards are bulk bin cards. A lot of
Yeah.
these are not going to see any play, but there are a couple here that I thought were a little interesting to say the least. And there's also some interesting stuff that I think comes up in this as well. First of all, we do get different professors' research in each deck, depicting each of the different professors. So now every major professor has been represented in a professor's research, which is very cool. Um, they share the same regulation mark, so that means that and they also all share the same regulation mark of G, which means the professor's research might actually rotate out in 2 years, which is, I think, fine for the game unless they reprint it, whenever that next, whatever that next bridge needs to be crossed. But cool stuff
I'm
here.
sure they will.
Yeah, George, you have any lasting thoughts about like the EX Pokemon that are like highlighting these decks? Because a lot
You
of them are
know,
pretty bad.
I couldn't really find one that I could talk about. The only one that I thought was semi interesting was the Tyranitar EX. Being that it's a dark type,
I like that one as
that's
well.
is always interesting. Weak to grass. Crush, this does 50 damage for each energy attached to this Pokemon. So with all the, you know, dark acceleration for one energy, you could possibly get that going, which you need in the format and dark patch. Tyrant Crash, is that good? I don't know. For dark colors, 150 damage. Your opponent reveals their hand, discard a card you find there. I would love to say that'd be good for control, but it's very um, pricey for a control list to be using that. So other than that, man, I don't know. Maybe the Kyogre. No, it's pretty bad. 80 damage. You may switch out your opponent's active Pokemon to the bench, but for water, colorless. I don't know. I don't know, man. These cards don't look very good.
Yeah, I would say the Tyranitar is definitely intriguing at the very least. I think 50 times is not a bad number to hit. Like you said, there's still ways to accelerate energies into the format. So, you can possibly take advantage of that at some point. And being able to see your opponent's hand, again, it's a very costly attack. So, but Tyranitar cards have always done this. They always mill in some capacity, whether it's your cards or your opponent's cards. So, it's interesting to say the least. The card I'm most intrigued by is this Blaziken EX card. It has the ability Overflowing Spirit. Once during your turn, you may attach a basic energy from your discard pile to one of your Pokemon, and for a fire and colorless energy, you do Burning Assault, 200 damage, and it's a very classic fire type Pokemon attack. You do big damage and you can't attack the next turn. Um, I think it's interesting. Having energy acceleration is never bad, and this ability can stack. It can be any basic energy, so this in theory flows into a lot of deck archetypes a little bit more seamless. It doesn't just accelerate fire energy or something like that, which is like what most of these decks can't have. Abilities like this have done in the past. 200 is kind of it's an okay number to hit. It's still it still leaves a lot to be desired. Obviously, it's a stage two. Stage twos again have to be really good to be worth the squeeze. And I don't know if this card necessarily is that good to warrant it, but at the very least, it's interesting. I like Blaziken as a Pokemon, so I'm interested in that. But yeah, other than that, a lot of these cards are just they just kind of stink. They're not good.
The only other card that could be possibly introduced in Gardevoir would be the Xerneas EX for double psychic and a colorless, 120 damage plus another 100 for if your Pokemon's an EX. 220 does hit a lot of things, and then if you remember the Clefairy card that's going to be printed, Lily's Clefairy, making dragon type Pokemon now weak to psychic. You could maybe one shot KO some of these big dragons in the format with that card, but that's a little bit of a stretch. I think there might be better cards that can do that for less.
Yeah, it just makes you think, is it like worth the squeeze here? And these EX Pokemon are still very squishy. I will say there's two other Pokemon I like to bring light to. There is the Sylveon that has the Safeguard ability, which has again been a mainstay ability in a lot of Pokemon formats. Prevents all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks of your opponent's Pokemon EX. So that new text baked in there. Now since by the time these come out, V's will most likely be rotated, so they're kind of future-proof this card a little bit more. The Tapu Koko, to me, seems interesting. It basically has Subspace Swell as an attack. It does 60 plus 20 for every bench Pokemon you have in play. It's a lightning colorless, for a lightning colorless, Thunder Connect. It's a good attack. I think you could see this as a possible Raikou at home for Miraidon decks. And also it has free retreat, which makes it, it's just at least entertaining at the very least. So I think there's very few playable cards in these decks, but the ones that are good seem pretty good.
There is a new Squawk ability.
Sure.
Draw 2 cards, 70 HP, can put it with Buddy Buddy Poffin. Nah, yeah, I don't know.
Hold the phone.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, like, listen, they're theme decks. They're meant for beginners to come in and pick up a deck and play against friends. I wouldn't mind if we got all these in the United States to like buy all of them and like pick out of a hat and like you have to play this in like a tournament. That'd be kind of fun. But
I'm sure what they're gonna do is they're gonna release these Pokemon as like some sort of. They're just gonna be like bulk EXs you get in like a future expansion set or something like that.
Yeah, that's not fun, but it would be cool. I mean, like it is a cool kind of thing. I don't know, have like a theme deck tournament or something like that. I'm sure Japan players or people that buy Japan cards, Japanese cards, maybe do stuff like that. I don't know. I'm grabbing at straws here. I'm just trying to find something cool about it. It's not that cool.
I will say you do get some cool sleeves in these. I don't know if you saw those yet or not, but
the sleeves look really cool.
The sleeves are very nice. Those are going to be money. I will be buying a pack of those for sure.
Which ones do you like the best?
I like the Lugia ones the best. Lugia and Tyranitar are unironically two of my favorite Pokemon of all time. So I will be, when I frame my Lugia deck and I hang it from the rafters of my apartment after it rotates, I will be sleeving it up in that. So
yeah, single strike Lugia with those sleeves on it would go pretty hard. Not gonna lie.
I miss her every day. God rest. Yeah. God rest easy, soldier. Yeah, it's a fun product. We'll see what comes out. We did get just on a quick note. It sounds like the next set, or one of Japan's next sets, got its name confirmed, or I believe it got an official release date. The next two sets in Japan coming out next year, after their special Eevee set in January, they're getting Heatwave Arena in March and the Glory of Team Rocket in April. That'll probably be the combination of whatever our next year set's going to be. We'll probably get it sometime in if the release schedule is proper, we'll probably get it around like the same time, maybe sometime in April. I'm not quite sure. I'd have to look at the release schedule, but yeah, we're getting a Team Rocket set. That's cool.
We can reveal Heatwave Arena will release in Japan on March 14th. The set will feature Cynthia's Garchomp EX. I don't know if it's the same
Yeah.
one with Dragon Rush or not. And then those who purchase a box set will also receive the 3 winning promo cards from 2024's illustration contest. The Glory of Team Rocket release on April 18th. As expected, the set will feature Rocket's Mewtwo EX. There will be no Dark Pokemon in set. There will all be Rocket's Pokemon. So I think I was hoping that maybe they would do something with like Pokemon Go, maybe like the Shadow Pokemon. So saying that there's no Dark Pokemon, I think you could put a kibosh to that. But it seems like this set is going to be part of like the trainer kind of theme that we're seeing that they've released at Worlds with the Lilies cards, the Ends cards. There's going to be Rockets cards as well. So listen, I think the Rockets set, we were talking about that. I think that's one that you buy a booster box, you get a nice cage for it, and you don't touch it. You just look at it because I think that one's going to be one that's going to be valuable one day when we're old and still playing Pokemon cards. We'll look back at it. Back in our day,
Absolutely. Yeah, back in our day, Lugia V-Star. No, I'm excited. I think I think once the announcement of owners Pokemon came back, I think everybody was looking at the big mascot Pokemon, big mascot trainers of who's going to get their cards printed. Cynthia is obviously one that came to mind. Cynthia is one of the most popular characters in the Pokemon fandom, and Cynthia's Garchomp seems like a no-brainer. And I'm really excited to get Team Rocket cards back, man. Team Rocket's return is one of my favorite sets of Pokemon from like a casuals perspective. That Rocket's Mewtwo is a lot of people's favorite cards, and I'm excited to get the Team Rocket engines back. That really opens up a lot of creative deck building opportunities, I'm sure. So we'll learn more about this, I'm sure, in next year. So we'll probably, if they're getting these in April, we're probably not going to get these till May, most likely. These might be part of a rotation set, most likely, but we'll cross that bridge when we
yeah,
get there.
I'm a little bit older. Just the original Team Rocket set for me was goated. I when that first came out, it was the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. So, but I'm a base fossil guy, and I played gyms up until Gym's Hero, and Team Rocket was legal back then. So, I was a big fan of Dark Charmander personally.
No surprise, you haven't changed one bit.
No.
So moving right along, I think it's time for everybody's favorite part of the show, Squawk or Seize, everybody's favorite this or that question game, where George and I will alternate questions back and forth to each other. If we're going to squawk it, which means we're going to yell about it, how much we love it so much we're going to keep it forever, or seize it, we're going to get rid of it and draw a fresh new hand of 6 cards. So, George, this week's theme, and I totally had to think about this last second because we were running out of holiday themed squawk or seizes. We're doing fall activities, which
Mm.
which are things you can do, which I feel like are mostly associated with the fall weather. So, kind of a
And
limited pool to pick
couples.
from here, but
It's
and
kind of like a
couples, yeah.
couples thing. Yeah. So I don't know if we're going to be the best at this. There's some funny ones though. So, um, you want me to start off?
Yeah, you can open us out. So,
So I'm going to start off with, instead of um, Squawker sees one, give you two to either Squawk one and sees one, because they both kind of fall into the both the same category in my mind. Apple picking, pumpkin picking.
okay. This is tough. This is right out the gate. This is a strong one. This is a very
I
popular
had
one that
I
people.
had to I had to bring the heat early because this is compared to our other Halloween and October esque Squawker seasons. This one is kind of on the low end, but pumpkin picking or apple picking, squawking one, squeeze
I
season
am.
one.
I'm squawking apple picking and seizing pumpkin picking, and
Okay,
the obvious, and it's an easy choice for me. Number one, like pumpkin picking is fun, but my problem with it is that you have very limited options of what you're going to do with that pumpkin. Apples you have a lot more variety with. I love a homemade apple pie, and every when I've had the time to do so, I've gone apple picking. In the fall, love getting some treats that go along with that. I love a hot apple cider, and I love a warm baked apple pie. Apple pie is one of my favorite desserts. So,
Yeah, it's kind of
what
just
about
like
you? Where would you land on this?
it's kind of just like third base, right? Warm apple pie. That's why you like it.
Oh
You saw American Pie growing up, and ever since you look forward to a warm apple pie. Um,
Drove
I
my Chevy to the levee, but the levee
uh,
was dry.
yeah, classic song. I think I know like every word to that song, or at least my version of it. Um,
That song's like 8 minutes long. There's no way you know every word to
I
that song.
said my version of it. I just make up words. I think I would
That's
go
true.
pumpkin picking. I don't like apples. I never liked apples. I'm not an apple person. Like caramel apples, I think I almost broke a tooth once on it as a child, and I'm
Everyone
scared for it.
has.
Yeah, but I do have some fond memories as a child. Pumpkin picking is more for children, I would say too. Like go to a pumpkin patch, pick one out, then you color on it, you paint on it, whatever. So I think I have more fond memories of pumpkin picking, and that's where I would squawk that when I would seize apple picking. So I think we're on different spectrum there, but yeah, that's I could do without either, to be honest with you.
That's valid. So I'll give you a fun one in this one. Kind of in the same theme. I feel like most of these things you can all kind of do in the same spot
Yeah,
anyway. So it's like you have your options here. Are we squawking or seizing the corn maze, which is a fall staple?
yeah. I've only done one, but I will say they are kind of relaxing. And when you mess up, it's kind of like, oh wow, I actually messed this up. I thought this was going to be easy, and sometimes they're not. And they are kind of fun, to be honest with you. The only thing is, they're only fun once, because once you do it once, you can't really do it again. So for those reasons, I'm gonna seize it, because I mean, like I don't know, man. If I'm going to a place just to do a corn maze, like I really have nothing going on that weekend. You know what I mean? Like that can't be the only thing. So I have a feeling that my answer might be pretty much same for a lot of these, but I'm seizing the corn maze.
I'm also probably gonna seize the corn maze. It's like I said, it's just like it kind of loses its magic like the first time you do it. Like it's fun, it's cute, but eventually it becomes very annoying very quickly. Like like it's just like you're just lost, and then you get kind of frustrated, and then you get in a fight with the person you came with, and then you break up with them. That's
Oh,
kind of what ends up happening with these
sounds
things.
like personal experience. Do tell more. No, I'm
I
just
don't know what
kidding.
you're talking about.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, it's fine. It's a novelty thing. I think like it's one of those things like it's more so for kids. Like
yeah.
it's
Most of these
it's
things
fine,
are.
but not for me.
I mean, we're a kid show, right? Especially when we're
It's true.
talking about American Pie. But anyway, Squawker sees petting zoos.
I I love petting zoos. I think they're funny. I didn't. I'm squawking a petting zoo. It's adorable. Like you know what it was? I like petting zoos a lot more now as an adult because my mom would never let me do the petting zoos as a kid. Probably because I didn't want to do them because I was like terrified of everything as a child.
Same, same.
But it's just like at least ask me if I want to do it, man. And then like they try to like rip you off sometimes too, like to make you pay to get inside the petting zoo after you've already paid to get inside of like the farming thing you're at. So it's like,
They
but
always
who
get you.
doesn't love petting a baby goat or like a tiny
I
horse?
I have a memory of when I was a child, some kind of field trip, and they had a petting zoo, and they had horses, and I was sitting there with my mom, and this horse just took the most massive dump right in front of both of us, and it was one of the funniest moments I remember. Me and my mother, and just cracking up. I was like, "Oh my god, it's the size of my head." Yeah, so I would seize petting zoos. They smell, they stink.
That there is a very strong smell that comes from like animal poop.
Yeah,
It's
gross.
it's
Uh,
tough. It's
All
fun.
right. I just did that one. Sorry. Your turn.
No, you're fine. Ooh, okay. This was maybe more for the I guess for a certain echelon of crowd. Are you squawking or seizing a wine tasting?
Oh, you knew if you're going to get me to say one to squawk, it would bring up alcohol. Definitely, definitely, 1000%. If you're doing any fall activity with me, take me to a wine tasting, take me on a winery tour, 100%. It's just like, have you ever done one? They're so fun.
I've done one. I've done one once. They are a lot of fun.
They're great.
They're very fun.
And not to mention, there is usually copious amounts of women just walking around, which is always a
Oh my
plus.
god.
Uh, I mean, listen, what are you going to do when you're a single man? Yeah, I would
Oh
be
my
down to do
god.
we should do a, what are you
Can't
going to
take
do
you
with it?
anywhere.
What are you going to do with me? But yeah, man, wine tour. I'm down to do it. If you want to do a fall activity, I'll go to a wine tour, 100%. Wine tasting tour.
I got my flannel shirt and boots out right now. Let's go. Let's find
I
one. It'll be fun. We'll have a good
I
time. So
wore flannel shirt and boots today. Real basic of me.
there you go. We love to see it. It's fun. I went on a wine tasting, a winery tour a couple of falls ago. It was awesome. It was great. I'm not usually a wine guy, but I am for when I'm tasting different stuff. It's
You
very
should do one.
very fun. So
You know,
I'd be
you
down. Yeah,
convinced
let's
me.
make it happen.
Let's do it. Yeah. Um, what about squawking or seizing? Um, bobbing for apples.
This is one that I like. I also like associate with my childhood because I almost fell into an apple barrel trying to bob for apples when I was in grade school because there was the thing was so huge and I'm so small. I literally almost fell in. So I would find listen. I am very capable of drowning in small places, and I guess I almost did. I'm seizing this though. I hate bobbing for apples. It is so not for me.
I would pay.
Because like
I would pay you to see you bob for apples. I will pay. I will pay for it. Pay you money so I can record it and make great content. I would love to see you bob for some apples.
it is one of the most like uncomfortable, like unnatural like things I've ever had the displeasure of doing. Because then like your hair gets all wet, your shirt gets all wet, then you're cold, but then you're trying to like wrap your jaw around this apple, and you just can't do it. And then you get lockjaw, and then that's how you get a class action lawsuit open on these places. So
I would love to see you try to bob for some apples. I think that'd be hilarious.
what about you? You an apple bobber?
No, I just told you I hate apples. Dislike them immensely. So I would,
You don't have to like apples to go bobbing for them. You just have to
oh,
put your mouth around them. You don't got to eat it.
100% no. I'm out. No shot.
All right, we'll each do one more each. So I'll do one more. You do one more.
Okay.
All right. I think I would be. We haven't asked one of the more obvious ones yet. Are we squawking or seizing a haunted house?
I mean, I think you know my answer. I'm the biggest baby of all time. I cannot go. I would literally crap my pants if I went to a haunted house. Soil myself immediately. Be scared shitless. Yeah, no, I'm out. Do not invite me to a haunted house. I will not go. Honestly, I'd probably get a lawsuit against me because I'd probably punch like one of the scare people like in the face on accident. Honestly,
Oh
I was thinking
God,
about this the other day. Like those people must get like hit all the time, right? Out of like natural like reaction.
I wouldn't say what the. If anybody is throwing hammer fists as a reaction to the being scared, you know what you do? You just don't go to these things because that
Yeah.
is insane.
I feel like I'm bringing up my mother a lot right now. Maybe I have a lot of fond memories of her in the fall. But one time in middle school, I was coming back from school, walked home, and I had one of my friends with me, and she opened the door with like a mask on, and I knocked her right in the face. Just like, oh! So yeah, I don't like to be scared. Don't scare me. Season that.
Yeah, I like a haunted house. I'm also a scaredy cat, but like I think vividly when I went to a haunted house a couple years ago, and the same guy scared me twice, and even he was like, "Dude, you really just jumped twice at that? Like, what's the matter with you?" Like, I was like, "Hey man, I don't know. I got scared." But
Yeah.
all right, George, bring us home.
I was gonna ask you Halloween, but that's kind of whack, right? Like we shouldn't do that. Obviously, Squawk and Halloween. So I found another
Yeah.
one that I think was a little bit better and actually a great activity for a nice fall night. Having a backyard bonfire.
Oh yeah, I love a bonfire. I'm squawking it. I think bonfires, are so comforting. If just a bunch of people sitting by bunch of your friends sitting by the fire, maybe with a couple beverages, you get some marshmallows out, you get a whole shebang out of it. Everybody has that one friend that has just a copious amount of wooden pallets that they're just gonna light them on fire at some point in the fall season. So I'm into it.
And it's a great way to pull out the old guitar or maybe ukulele and show off a little bit too, right?
It's true. We got to find a friend with a backyard. We can make it happen. So
Yeah. Unfortunately, I do not have that. But all right. I think that is our edition of Squawk or C's fall activities this week. It was actually a little more fun than I thought it would be. I think we had some good laughs. I'm just a psychopath. That's what it comes down to, I think.
it's true. You said it. You're not. You said it first, not me. But
Yeah. You were
yeah,
thinking
that's I think it every day. But all right, Georgie, let the people know where they can find you. Thank you so much again for gracing me with your presence. Let the people know where you're at.
Yeah, on Twitter, on X at PNYBTL, Pony Bottle Champ. Um, my tweets have gone down. I've fallen off the horse ever since that big one. And then, of course, challenge me on live. Let's get some games. Same username. What about you, Kyle?
You guys can check me out at Koopa NJ across platforms. I am a commentator for the Shuffle Squad. You guys can check me out every Wednesday on Late Night TCG. I got some other stuff coming up in the Pokemon realm as well next month. You guys can check out my other podcast, the Cooped Up Podcast, where I talk about pop culture, among other things, with my friends. And yeah, I'm around on the internet, and I'm just looking forward to playing some Pokemon. You know what I'm saying? So that being
I know
said,
what you're saying, brother.
it's going to be for episode this week, folks. And we'll catch you guys next time. And have yourselves a wonderful night, folks. Good night.
See ya.